This year at the Giornate del Cinema Muto, the Pordenone Silent Film Festival, we have multiple focuses, as we always do. But this year, while I was putting the program together, I noticed a very strong strain of strong women. Not only the wonderful program that we've done of nasty women, obviously referring to the marches in January against Donald Trump's misogyny, where people took back the expression nasty women to make it a kind of feminist anthem in a way. And so we've got 5 wonderful programs of strong women comedians, French, English, American, showing that women are taking control of their lives, also the lives of others, in really quite liberating ways. So that's great fun. But also, throughout the program, not just in that section, but throughout the program, there are incredibly strong women, and it reminds us of just how many opportunities there were for women in the silent era, obviously in front of the screen, less behind, but still to show strong women characters. We have 3 wonderful films starring Paola Negri, for example, all from 1918. A fantastic film called The World and Its Woman, starring Geraldine Ferrar, which ends in a fantastic fisticuffs between Ferrar and the actress Rose Dion that was compared to the wonderful and noteworthy fight in The Spoilers from 1914. So something that you don't necessarily expect to see 2 women doing, particularly Geraldine Ferrar, one of the great opera stars of the 20th century, and yet having a lot of fun. So that's very much a main focus, a main theme that runs throughout the program. Also this year we have quite a lot of exoticism, I would say, quite a number of travel films. There's a section on Soviet travel films, which was the idea in the early Soviet Union, so we're talking in the early 1920s, to send cameramen out to the far-flung corners of the Soviet Empire to show not just the breadth of the empire, but also how communism is going to help these people. So there's a bit of paternalism in these films, but also they're fantastic ethnographic films that show us ways of life in Pamir, in Central Asia, in the Crimea, also in the polar regions, that are important records for us now, not just of propaganda, but of how people lived. I'm also very excited that we've got a number of short ethnographic films shot in East Africa, all coming from Norway, beautifully restored recently. We've, thanks to the help of an anthropologist, Neil Carrier in Oxford, we've been able to identify the places, we've been able to identify the tribes. So we're very much trying to make these films not simply something for film historians, but also for a broader audience, academic as well as public. So that's an exciting direction, I think, for us to go in. Also, we have the last section of our Origins of the Western series. So we're looking at European Westerns. Everybody has this idea of spaghetti Westerns, and some people are familiar with the German ones. We're looking back even earlier, 1912, for example, wonderful Italian Westerns, French as well, Danish. There's a 1915 Danish Western as well as some English. So a really lovely program that helps expand our understanding of how iconic Western themes were spread out so quickly through cinema. Also this year we finally given a real focus to the First World War. Everybody's been saying it's 100 years, why aren't you doing something? And it's a very difficult subject, of course, to tackle in any meaningful way. I didn't want to simply program a bunch of battle films, although there are wonderful ones, Battle of the Somme, that sort of thing. Instead, I decided it was time to look at the effects of war, particularly in this day and age when we're so full of uncertainty, I think, in where the world is going. It's salutary to remember what war does, not just to soldiers. So we have, but we do have a very, very powerful documentary footage shot by a neurologist, an Italian neurologist, of a soldier suffering from shell shock. Also, we're addressing malnutrition, starvation, refugees, women in the workforce. So it's not only horror stories that we're telling, it's also how women became independent thanks to the war, obviously with a great cost as well. But in many cases, these are difficult films to watch. I've mixed in fiction as well as some comedies because we need a bit of levity in all of this. But it's a powerful reminder that what war does, particularly, as I said, in this day and age when things are so uncertain. This year's poster, which has Lars Hansen on the image, is a very moody image, and one of the reasons that it appealed to me so much is I think that in some ways it captures the zeitgeist of today. Even more than when the photo was made in 1927, it's shot by Ruth Harriet Louise. For me, this gave an expression, perhaps to possibly my own incertitude, but also I think to a realization that we don't know where the world is going. And it's important, I think, to have that kind of reflection even in an archival festival like Pordenone.